Hi, I'm Amy Stair, CEO of Star Power, and we have a real treat for you guys today. Liz Turnbaugh, who's from the north and northwest suburbs of Chicago, is not only a successful realtor, she is a serial entrepreneur, and I can't wait for you to hear what Liz has to share. Liz, thank you so much for saying yes. We're so happy you joined us.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm truly honored to be here.
Thank you. And we'd be remiss if we didn't give mad props to Leslie McDonald, one of our OG stars, who you are teamed up in business with, and we'll get to that. I want you to lay the groundwork for being a businesswoman. How on earth did you wind up where you are today?
Like all things that are complex, it's not a complex, it's a complex answer too. It's not a simple one. You know, life is all about pivoting, and that's really what I've learned to do. So if I were to go back even 7 years ago, I did not have any of the 3 businesses that I have today. I was working in corporate America. I was head of sales and marketing for a large alcohol and wine and spirits company, and I truly thought the rest of my career would be doing something like that. And so, but as things do, they change. And we got new leadership in, and that new leadership was making some changes, asked all of us who were in certain roles to be open to relocation, which I was not. And I thought, no big deal. I can take the package and relocate. And find another job like no issue. And being in the Chicago market. And so I started to put the feelers out, and around that same time, 2 other things happened that were unique. So around the time I was looking for a job, I had posted a photograph of a charcuterie board that I had made with a friend of mine, and it had gone viral. And so people are messaging me like, "That is so cool. What is that? Could you make me one?" And I was really just ignoring those messages, right? For the most part, I was flattered that people thought it was cool and pretty and creative. Meanwhile, I'm still working my job, but looking for something else. And there had started to be a little bit of talk about COVID, but certainly it was nothing alarming at this point to the majority of us. So I'm interviewing at places, I'm looking for jobs, kind of working on that pivot, if you will. And around that time, we were starting to hear about hiring freezes happening at different companies and things like that. So the job search was not going as fluidly as I had thought. I had ended up getting a job offer at a really large energy drink company, which I was excited about. Meanwhile, all those requests for charcuterie boards kept coming in. I was ignoring those. I was about to sign the paperwork for that offer, and I got a call from their head of HR that they were actually going to put everything on hold as this COVID thing was ramping up. So I started to get a little nervous.
Sure.
In thinking like, okay, I thought I was, acclimating well to this job change, and I was pivoting and looking for a new role. But now that new role isn't happening, and now all the other jobs that I had been looking for are also going on hiring freezes. So I really had to have an honest talk with myself about what's next. How do I pivot? What am I going to do? Because candidly, I am and was the breadwinner for my family. And so, and having 2 little girls, not working is not an option for me.
Right.
So while I kept looking for jobs that was not seeming as hopeful as previously, I did start taking people up on that, on the opportunity to make charcuterie boards for them. And I was making them out of my kitchen in between looking for jobs, and I was delivering them to people. And then as the COVID talk was ramping up, the job search was getting more and more bleak. And then also people were starting to entertain less and having, less large gatherings where people would share food because people were starting to get really kind of worried about what was happening. So I thought, okay, I'm really in trouble right now. How am I going to pivot? So I decided with the charcuterie, small little side business that I had started, that I would offer individual charcuteries with contactless delivery that I would take to someone's grandmother or someone's sister, missing you, wish I could be with you on your birthday, writing handwritten personal notes, adding a personal touch in a time when everything was getting very impersonal. And so while everybody was kind of on lockdown, I was one of the few people wearing masks out at all the grocery stores, buying food and making these charcuterie little boxes and boards and hand delivering them to people's porches and then calling and letting them know that it was there. So that was a big pivot for me, but certainly while it was fun and it was something to do, it was definitely not a replacement for the career that had been, funding our lives. So the other interesting thing that happened was my very dear friend's mom is Leslie McDonald. And so I've known her since I was 10, 11 years old. So she has known me. She was able to watch me kind of grow up and, have some success in business. When I was in the role I had in corporate America, I ran 3 departments. And then she saw me start this little charcuterie business. And so she said, hey, would you ever think about getting your real estate license? And it really kind of blew me away coming from her. And we just had a real honest talk about what the future might look like for her one day and maybe, why it may make sense for me to get my real estate license. And again, it's starting over. I mean, it's starting from the beginning, from the ground up on something. But I was honored that she asked me because she is truly one of the very, very best in the industry, let alone in my community. And for her to believe in me like that was just, it blew my mind. So it didn't take me long to give her a big yes. And so I went and I got my real estate license, I think in record time. I even went and took the test and literally the entire city of Chicago was on lockdown. But you had to take the test in person. So that was an experience in itself. So I started in the heart of COVID is when I started real estate. And it was a very interesting and odd time because I couldn't get a whole lot of hands-on training from my team even then. But I'm so glad that I did that. And so to transition or to answer the question of how the third business came along, the truth was it's not like you start out the gate being busy with real estate. It's, you've got to grow it, you've got to nurture it, you've got to develop it.
Yes.
So I said to myself, well, this is great. I like doing this. I'm enjoying it. And I want this to be the long-term plan. But I also am not making enough money today to support my 2 little girls. So I thought to myself, well, what else can I do? I've grown the charcuterie business into something that's pretty neat. I was no longer doing it in my kitchen. I was now doing it in a commercial kitchen, and I had a team helping me. But again, still not enough. So, I said a lot of prayers and I had a lot of heartfelt conversations with myself and thought, people think I'm a food expert. I don't know why, but the charcuterie business has given me something, a leg to stand on. And I had a lot of followers that had happened organically. And so I decided maybe I should consider opening up a restaurant. One, I thought it'd be really neat to take that whole thinking around charcuterie and sharing food with people, and you try this and I'll try this, and ooh, what is that? And that kind of conversation piece that comes with it, but taking it a step further and almost like a tapas experience, but not specifically Spanish. And I just thought it'd be fun to do something different. Also, it wouldn't be a bad way to continue to build my name and my brand in the community that I am really trying to make a name for myself with real estate. So I opened up, so I had my charcuterie, which is the name of the charcuterie business. And then I opened up the boardroom, which will be 2 years in November. And all the while I've been steadily working hard at growing my real estate business as well.
So we're going to take a pause right here because you are so nonchalant about what I feel is an incredible internal drive. And you're a risk taker. I mean, you have ventured now 3 times in a super short window of time. 3 separate businesses. Yes, the charcuterie and the restaurant are somewhat related simply because it's food, but very different business models.
Very different. You're absolutely right.
And you don't do, in my observation, you're not doing anything that you don't figure out a way to win at. And yet you're just so calm about it. I want you to.
It's a total facade, Amy.
You're like the duck. He's just floating on the water, but the feet underneath are going like this the whole time.
That's actually very accurate. I mean, the truth is, I don't know if my family has ever questioned my sanity more than when I told them I wanted to open a restaurant. I'm not kidding. I mean, the amount of conversations that were had around, is this a good idea? I don't think you should do this. What are you doing? I mean, because opening a restaurant is one of the riskiest businesses that you can enter into.
And you did it during COVID?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Post-ish COVID.
Absolutely. And it's
very risky time.
Absolutely. And I cannot honestly look you in the eye and tell you that it was not without a lot of, fear, concern, all the things that you can imagine were there. But for me, and I only know how to do me really well, which is if I'm going to do something, if I decide to do something, there is no option of failure. Come hell or high water, I'm going to figure it out. And my dad taught me at a very young age, Elizabeth, no matter how you're feeling about something, if you think someone's smarter than you or better than you at something or has more experience than you, the one thing you always have is you can outwork anyone. You can get up earlier, you can go to bed later, you can figure it out. And so if I decide to do something truly, I will not quit until I figure it out. And having two little girls that count on me, right, to stay in the school district that they're in, to, pay for the tutoring that they need, to take care of the dance lessons that they would like to take, to, all the things that come with having them. It's that drive of, I will figure it out. I have to figure it out. And so no matter what.
Well, you are figuring it out in a big way.
Thank you very much.
We have the successful My Charcuterie, if any of you want to check it out. Great little business. And the restaurant, the Boardroom, is rocking it. That's in Libertyville, is that right?
It's in Libertyville, and we've gotten super, I'm really blessed. We just won Best New Restaurant in Lake County.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's really neat because with both businesses, we haven't done a whole lot of marketing. But people are talking about us and sharing with, sharing.
Well, we're going to talk about that because you say you haven't done a whole lot of marketing, but I also know you are extremely strategic and successful, and it has allowed you in 4 years in real estate to explode production-wise. So could you first just give people a quick year 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers-wise? Like, how fast have you grown?
It's been exponential, and I'd actually probably have to pull up my numbers to give you exact ones. But it's been a lot of growth. My very first year, I remember I only had one sale, and I think the house was maybe a $230,000 house. So I had one sale, one commission, and I was pretty defeated almost because I had such high expectations for myself out the gate. And I really do believe in. If you want to be successful at anything, you have to have really big, audacious goals, like scary, crazy goals. There's a book out there called The 10X Method. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yep.
But I love that book. And I love the point of it is, if you're going to do anything, you've got to go big. Like, there's no point in doing anything and having mediocre goals, right? Because mediocre goals are going to get you mediocre results. And so, my first year, I think I told myself, I'm going to do, $1 million in sales. That's what I told myself I would do. And I completely failed at that. I failed hard at it. And,
but let me just share, she's already jumped past the 20 million threshold, 3 years in business.
Thank you.
That's remarkable.
And a lot of that is because I've had what I call these 10X goals, right? I put these crazy goals out there. And even when I don't meet them, it is driving me to attain them. And so, even if I didn't get there year 1, I was able to get there year 2. And I was able to go much further past that. And I think in year 2, I was at 6 million. So I went from one sale of 230,000 to over 6 million by year 2. And again, it's having big, audacious goals, and I will not, and having what I call grit, and doing whatever it's going to take to get there. And so I tried everything, right? Literally, even the ideas I would bring up to Leslie, sometimes she'd go, okay, you can try that. And sometimes she'd say, that hasn't worked really well for me, but if you want to try that, Liz, you can. But And then she would tell me things that she thought would work really well, and I would do those too. So I was able and I was allowed to try everything and figure out my own path, right? But I mean, I knocked on doors, and I literally would walk around neighborhoods, just trying to solicit business any way that I could. There was this like big wedding expo, and I thought I had the greatest idea ever, which was going to be to go to this wedding expo, get a booth, because you have a ton of probably first-time homebuyers there as well, who are getting married and starting a life together. And I spent a lot of my own money, like getting everything set up, and I just thought it was the most genius idea. And it was a ton of work and a ton of money spent, and it resulted in one lead that didn't actually end up becoming a sale. But those are all those
teachable moments.
Totally. But teachable moments that, like, if I hadn't done that, and if Leslie hadn't allowed me to just say, yeah, go for it, try it. If it works, great. But I learned from it, and you start to fine tune what works, what doesn't work. Where do I want to spend energy and time and resources, and where does it not make sense to do that? So a lot of trial and error, but it means every single day, 7 days a week, I work hard at figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And that's how I'm able to achieve those goals, is because I'm not taking a light approach to any of it.
So let's talk about one of those things that's really, really working. And that is, first of all, you have no problem asking people when they have a good experience with you to tell the world about it. But you've taken it to a different level that I don't think a tiny percentage of people are tapping into. So let's talk about the moms groups and what you've done.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I really had to have an honest conversation with myself of saying, how do I go from, that first sale, right? Mm-hmm. How do I go from, having one person, do a sale with me, to get to a point where, I want reviews coming in, like, honestly, like it's raining cats and dogs in Cleveland. That's what I'm looking for. How do I get there? And I thought to myself, there was something about my very first client, and this is important in terms of answering your question, which was my very first client, candidly, was a lead that Leslie gave me. So I met with her. Because Leslie referred her to me, she did not ask me questions that you would typically get, if somebody was interviewing new agents. She didn't ask me how long I had been in business. She didn't ask me how many transactions I had had. She didn't ask me what my statistics were. And thank God, because the answer would have been nothing. I've got no experience. I have no transactions. I have no experience. I have no reviews. So the fact that someone else referred me to her meant a lot to her. That took all of those objections off the table. It also helped that I wasn't, super young when I started. So I probably bought some credibility with some age there. But it really got me thinking about that referral and how important it is and how strong it is. And so when our deal closed, her name was Lisa, my first client, I said to her, Lisa, would you write a review for me? I did all the typical things we do, right? And of course she did. And it was a glowing review. And I posted it on my social media way more often than I should, because I only had that one review, right? But here's the thing that I learned to do. I knew that I had given absolutely 5-star service to her. I knew when I asked her for that review, she would not only write me that 5-star review, but if I ever asked her to do more than that, she would. And at one point, I was in a mom's group, and someone said, hey, I'm looking for an agent. Would anyone recommend anyone? And I picked up the phone and I called Lisa. And I said, Lisa, would you be willing to go into that mom's group that you're in? Because I had the idea to invite her to the group, because she had just moved to that area. So I invited her, and I said, this will be a great resource for you. And it is, right? Mm-hmm. All kinds of topics are on there that are relevant for her and her life and, living in that community. But I called her that day and I said, would you mind responding to this post, someone, and recommend me? She's like, I would love to, Liz. Absolutely. So she went on there and she recommended me. I have taken that approach and I have multiplied it in a way that's, it's truly my secret sauce, my magic formula, if you will. So today, I'm part of all of those, what I call mom groups in my local community, whether it's Libertyville, Vernon Hills, Lincolnshire, Gurnee, all the relevant communities. And every time I have a client purchase a home, in that area, I invite them to their relevant communities. And then when I see a post that someone says, hey, I'm looking for a realtor recommendation, I literally have no issue calling, texting those clients and saying, hey, there's a post in this mom's group, would you mind? And they are so fast to say, absolutely, done. But the coolest part of all is that they're now doing it on their own. I'll get messages from them. Hey, Liz, saw this post, I recommended you. Hey, Liz, saw this post, recommended you. So imagine a post asking for realtor recommendations. And you've probably seen these before, but you might get 89 responses. Mm-hmm. But imagine if 50 of those are just your name. It's very powerful.
I want to really hone in on some key things here.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are in those groups, and what I see them do is they post for themselves.
Right.
I can help you. Give me a call.
Right.
First of all, they're not going to call you.
No,
if you
they're
want
not.
the business, go after the business. And that's, Liz, one of the things I admire so much about you is you don't wait for it to come to you. You go after it.
Right.
The second thing I've heard you say in the past is you can't do it if you haven't earned it. So you earned that 5-star recommendation, and
Right.
you earn it over and over again so that you won't ask unless you gave it first.
1,000%. Often when I present about this topic at real estate conferences, I often say to people, do not do this unless you are so confident in what you already delivered. This is like the post piece you get to do. But if you know you gave 5-star service and you know that client would recommend you in a room of people asking at any point in time, then by all means, have the audacity to say, hey, would you refer me again? And because the other piece to that 5-star service is it doesn't end once the home is sold or once the purchase is made. I had a client who relocated from California to, again, I'm in the north and northwest suburbs of Chicago. So they had moved, it was in October, they had moved, and we got our first snowfall last winter. It was in early December. And I called her the morning of the snowfall, and I said, hey, I'm just checking in. I hope you're doing well. I have 3 snowplow guys that are available to come by. Thought you might find it helpful. It's taking moments like that and being thoughtful and taking the time to think about your clients post the sale. That did so much for her and for our continued relationship. She's like, oh my God, I woke up in a panic and then I see your text and now I know what to do. And those are the moments that I find that I know that I earn the 5-star review, but I earn it over and over and over again. Or checking in with someone and saying, hey, I saw on Facebook that you're going through a tough time. It sounds like your dad is sick. I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. I'm also, where are you going to be this weekend? Are you going to be with family? I'd love to send something for you all to just enjoy. Usually it's a charcuterie
board.
But the point is finding moments to earn the right.
Yes.
To go back to them 2 years, 3 years, 5 years after I've helped them purchase or sell a home and continue to ask them to refer me.
Yes.
Is definitely one of those things that first piece is earning the right to do it. And the second piece is having the
The chutzpah.
Yep.
The cojones.
Having the cojones.
Pick up the phone, people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And getting to a point now where, and I hate to use the word trained, that sounds bad, but where my clients are almost trained, they're doing it for me.
I think you're using the word in a good way.
It's a great thing.
You've conditioned them to behave in a certain way, but you would never ask if you hadn't done the work in front of it.
Absolutely. And it's powerful when there's a post, and like I said, you have 79, 80 responses, and, over half are my name. Not only is it powerful for the person who's asked the question, but everyone looking. Right?
Yes.
Everyone's seeing that post.
Yes.
Or people go back in history and they'll go on a mom's group and they'll type in realtor, real estate agent. And they'll go, and I had one client reach out to Leslie and I, and she said, well, I tallied all the names that were being recommended, and half were you, Leslie, and half were you, Liz. So you're clearly on the same team. So I need to work with one of you. But anyways, I'm laughing at this, right? Because Leslie's earned that over 38 years of business.
Yes.
People are just recommending her. You asked the question, how am I doing this in just a few years? I'm asking for it.
Yeah.
And I was honored to even have as many recommendations as Leslie had, when she's got decades more of experience than I do.
But you've consciously reached out.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I have a challenge for those of you who are listening to this or watching this right now. I want you to start making note of at least 3 things that your clients might need in the future after the sale. Like knowing someone moved from California to Chicago, it's gonna snow big.
Right.
They're not used to that.
Right.
So give yourself those triggers. We can only hold so much in our brains, right? And
Right.
you have a remarkable ability to hang on to all that. But as people's database grows and grows,
Right.
you've got a CRM that will support you with this in the notes section. So just
Absolutely.
start asking yourself the question right now.
Yeah, and even like to that point, putting in your CRM, like, hey, sometime around November, December, when you think a snowfall might come, put a note in there. Like, it doesn't have to be the day it snows, right? Like, I was able to nail it on that one. But even if I had
Tag
sent
it with snow removal.
right, even if I had done it 2 weeks earlier, like, hey, I think it's starting to become that season. I wanted to get ahead of this and make sure you had these contacts. It really means a lot to people when they're like, God, she's really not just in it for the money and for that sale. Like, she really cares about me. She cares about how I'm doing. I mean, I follow up with people on all kinds of stuff. I'll say, hey, now that you're settled in, what do you need? Do you need a recommendation for a hairdresser? I can't tell you how many women are like, oh my gosh, thank you. Yes, because that's an important thing for, right? And saying, no problem. I've got a great colorist. I've got a great stylist. What else is helpful? I had someone say to me, hey, our son's super into soccer and we need like an amazing offline soccer coach. And I'm like, perfect. I know, I know the right people to ask, right?
Yes.
Or someone said, our son, do you know a good tennis pro for our son? I go, yes, I have another client who's a tennis pro. So I love getting to that point where they know to be comfortable to truly come to me for any type of referral or recommendation, because it helps continue to position me in a place of expertise for them too.
Absolutely. So many things I want to get into. You'd said the word grit earlier, and I really want to talk about, you have innately, you definitely have grit and you have audacity. I love, you've used that word with me in the past. Some people are just born with those. Some people work their way into it. And I know your daughters are a great motivator for that.
Yep.
What does it take to become a person that will outwork, outperform, have that grit, keep on going? How do you feed yourself to get that to continue?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think in life, right, we all want to avoid pain and we want things to be easy and we want life to be good, right?
Yes.
We're all chasing happiness, if you will. But I think grit is born out of challenges and trials and the tough stuff, right? That inevitably is going to come.
Sure.
And so I think it's important, I guess a life lesson I've learned is embracing the tough stuff and understanding that you can't get rid of it per se, but it's how you work through it that matters, right? The tough stuff's going to come, right? Someone's going to get really sick. Somebody may pass away. Someone may leave. Someone may betray you. Those things are going to happen. They can happen. And it's really about how are you going to push through? Are you going to give up? Are you going to, crawl in a ball and lay down and cry about it? Or are you going to get up every day and figure out, what do I need to do to survive? And candidly, I've gone through enough tough stuff that it's forced me to develop that grit. And because I do have those two motivators, right? I do, and they are my number one responsibility. And so I think that's part of what's built it for me. And the other thing is I have amazing role models. My mom and dad are two of the hardest working people I've ever known, and to this day, they are both. Often I would joke and say, like, I'm really such a blend of both of them. Leslie's a huge role model for me, and she has a ton of grit herself.
Yeah, she does.
She has a ton of grit. I mean, I couldn't have a better mentor than I have with her. And so, I think it's going through the tough stuff, and also just choosing every day to you decide what kind of attitude are you going to have? What kind of outcome do you want? well, there's only one way to get there, and it's to power through things.
You said to me on a prior conversation, directed energy is a multiplier. I think that really sums up
Absolutely.
who you are as a person.
Yeah, I love that. Directed energy is a multiplier. I mean, it's true. It's, there's only so much energy in a day, and where are you going to focus it and put it, right? And so, for me, I wake up every day and I say, okay, what's the plan? What am I going to do to make sure that everybody that is employed by me, continues to be employed, continues to be able to support their families? What am I going to do to make sure that these businesses flourish? What am I going to do to make sure that I am continuously filling the pipeline with real estate clients? What am I doing every day to, earn the seat that I'm in? To run a business, you don't get to just take a back seat. You do need to strategically figure out, where can I be positioned best to ensure the success of these businesses and for my team. And sometimes that means getting out of my team's way to let them be successful. And sometimes it means interjecting and strategically being a part of decision-making that's going to take us to the next level. And when it comes to real estate, it's every day figuring out, what am I doing to make sure that, what does 6 months from now look like? What does a year look like from now? How am I achieving those 10X goals? Because I've made those goals pretty audacious that, there's no slowing down. And so every day it's funneling that energy towards figuring out how to make that happen and how to reach those goals.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the value of having that mentor. And specifically, you made a choice in real estate to be on a team. And I've heard you say it to other people. Why would you ever want to not be on a team?
Right.
So give a perspective from your angle of, why go this way instead of just, you're clearly successful. You started 2 other businesses. Why in real estate did you decide to go this route?
Yeah, let me back up. There's a gal that works for me at the restaurant, at the boardroom. Her name's Karen. She's a doll. And she recently decided to get her real estate license. And she said, and then she got it. She said, okay, Liz, what should I do now? She was asking me some advice. And I said to her, I think the best thing you can do as a new agent, my advice is not that every agent needs to be on a team, but if you're a new agent, truly the best thing you can do is go join a successful team. Yes. Does that mean that you're going to split commissions? You sure are. But you know what you're going to gain? You're going to gain knowledge, expertise, systems that are in place. A lot of things are going to be already figured out that you can truly learn from. And so for me, joining a successful team that already had so much figured out was key for me to ramp up quickly. I was able to focus on what I call my 5-star customer experience, because so many things had already been figured out, right? There's already a CRM in place. There's already a plan in place for what we do after we've met with a seller who isn't quite ready to list, but, putting them on a plan, and what does that look like for them? So, and not only that, but joining a team of experts that I can ask questions to. So as I was telling Karen, we weren't hiring at the time on our team, but I gave her a referral for another team that I thought was very, very good as well in our area. And I said, join her team. You are going to learn a lot. Because, even my very first contract I did, that first client, Lisa, I can't tell you how many versions of that contract I did. I made so many mistakes. Thank goodness I had a team, and I had people on my team I could call and say, okay, am I filling this out correctly? Because going to real estate school means nothing.
It gets you the license.
But being good at something comes with experience. And so
Yes.
I've been able to borrow from the women on my team's experience, from Leslie, from Joan, from Cheryl. And even to this day, I have questions. I'll say, hey, I'm not quite sure. I haven't run into that a lot. This happened the other day. I started my career in real estate in a time when there weren't a lot of home sale contingencies, right? It's been a seller's market.
Yes.
And it really hasn't slowed down. And a couple times over the years, I've had a few buyers who were adamant that they needed to do a home sale contingency. And while I understood that it probably wasn't going to get accepted, I found myself wanting to make sure I was doing it correctly. So what did I do? Picked up the phone and called someone on my team to make sure they were giving me that guidance, right? So, and it's the same thing with any new agent coming in. Until you have, a good amount of time under your belt, why not join a team where you can lean on and learn? And then you can eventually go off on your own, sure, but grow and earn that reputation so that you can stand on your own 2 feet. Anyways, that's been my experience, and it's certainly worked for me. So any new agent, I would recommend that too, for sure.
Great. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the systems that you have in place as a team.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you think are just absolutely essential for anybody in this business to have?
I really do think it depends on your personality, because it has to fit you, right?
Yes.
Like whatever you do has to feel authentic and real. One of the things that Leslie has set up that I am so glad, because again, if I hadn't joined a team, I wouldn't know to do this, right? But one of the things she's set up that I believe in wholeheartedly, and I plan to continue for the rest of my career, is that we systematically write personal handwritten cards multiple times a year, right? So for birthdays, for anniversaries, but also other times in between. And it's those heartfelt handwritten notes talking about, hey, I heard you just had a new grandbaby. I'm so happy for you. I'd love to catch up and get coffee sometime. Or, hey, I hope everything's going great with the new house. I'm just thinking of you. If you need anything, let me know. That is one piece or one system that she has in place that I absolutely applaud her for, and I'm excited to know that until the day I retire, I will continue that, because I think it's powerful and it builds those relationships, which is so important. That is our business, right? And I will take the time to write as many handwritten cards and notes as our system tells me I need to do that day, because I believe in it. So that's one piece that I think is so important. The other thing is just, tracking everything, right? And like I mentioned earlier, if I meet with a client and they're not quite ready to sell now, but they will be in the future, really making sure that I put them into a plan so that as I get busy, I don't forget about them, and that I am touching base with them regularly. And hey, I'm just thinking about you, or hey, the market's shifted a little. I think your home is worth this now. Would love to talk with you. So, those things are super important. Another thing that our team is really big on, that it's all about finding the time to do it, but we even do, in addition to those handwritten notes, are something called send out cards. Have you heard of that?
Yep.
I like those a lot too. So if someone posts a photo of like something really cute, they went to a pumpkin patch with, their family, I'll take that picture off of their Facebook and, put it into send out cards and say, this one deserves a frame. Hope you all are well, Liz. And I can't tell you, people love it. They'll send me a text or send me a phone call. Like, that was so sweet of you and thoughtful. And it just takes a few minutes, but it's such a, it's a one-time yearly fee, no matter how many you send out. So it's such an easy way to connect with clients too. So there's lots of important systems in place. But those are probably some of what I would say are the top ones for me.
Send out cards, for those of you who don't know, is sendoutcards.com. And we'll throw a link in the newsletter so you guys have access to it. It's so congruent with who you are identifying yourself as a professional, that personal touch, that it's specific to them.
Yeah.
I really want to anchor on that, because you really seem to be going above and beyond to let the attention be on them and not about you. Yeah. So many realtors are still in the mindset of, well, who do you know that's going to be buying or selling in the next 6 months? I've not heard you once have to directly ask for a piece of business.
No, I mean, candidly, right? And even when you ask that question to someone, you know what the answer is going to be. The answer is going to be like, I can't think of anyone right now, but when I do, I'll let you know, Liz. That's what the answer would be.
Yep.
It's so generic. We've all heard it. And candidly, I think it's important to lean into your strengths, right? And for me, developing relationships, connecting with people is important to me. And it's not about getting that one sale. I really do want to be their realtor for life. I want to be their realtor from their, when they're a first-time home buyer to when, we need to upgrade, we need to get a bigger home, the family's growing, to, okay, the kids are going away to college, it's time to downsize, to now it's time to maybe, go somewhere like assisted living or independent living. I want to be a realtor for life. And to do that, it's really critical that my clients know I care about them, and the business, the business will come.
Absolutely.
The business will come. And it always does, right? But it's really about connecting and going above and beyond in an authentic way to where I want to create, there's a term that I learned when I was head of marketing of this company, but we used to say about building brands, it was, we want to create raving fans, right? And the word fans is take it or leave it. But the point is, I want these clients to be super fans of mine, to be excited to tell their brother, their sister, their best friend, whoever's asking about their experience with me. And that only happens if they feel it. And so it's important.
Now, your team also does client appreciation. So let's talk about a couple of those things.
Yeah, we do some really incredible client appreciation events that I think are super special. And, huge kudos again to being part of Leslie's team. And again, going back to learning from being on a team, but it's really important to her and to us. And this is why her and I make so much sense together, because I think our values are very aligned in this way. But in spending resources and time and energy in creating experiences for our clients that not only matter to them, but are ones that they also want to share with their friends and family, right? So,
absolutely.
For example, we have got one coming up that I'm excited about. So we call it our Santa event. But what we have is we'll host this event where we invite our clients to come, bring their children, bring their grandchildren. If we have clients that we think might know people that make sense to invite as well, they can come as well. And they'll have a beautiful breakfast buffet set up, but we'll also have Santa Claus there. We'll have Olaf there. and they can come and enjoy getting those professional photographs taken, as well as having some really fun activities and great food and great drinks. It's just a really enjoyable time. And it gives us a chance to connect with our clients, to truly give them something of value, right? They don't have to go to the local mall and get that picture taken.
Right.
We've got a gorgeous setup for them. They get to get that important moment for them. It also gives us an opportunity. All of my clients that come, I send them a send-out card with their with their photograph, but it gives me a chance to connect with them. And I had someone come, and multiple people come last year, and I was able to talk with them, and it resulted in business, right? Hey, I've got a neighbor who's thinking about selling, Liz. Maybe I could connect you with them. Or, hey, I've got somebody who I went to college with who's thinking about moving to the area. Can I connect you with them? So it just creates, again, another authentic opportunity to show our clients we care about them, we appreciate them, and we want to continue to build our relationships with them. So that's a really big one. We kind of do a very similar one around Easter time with the Easter Bunny.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's so much fun. The kids have a blast. We have tons of fun activities. So those are two of our, I would call it kid-centric events. But we also try to do other things too. We've got one coming up that we're talking about doing, which is going to kind of be like a cocktail and appetizer night, where it's just super easy, but having, clients come and maybe focusing on the clients that don't have younger kids or grandkids, and just asking them to come and have good food and wine with us and talk with us and see if there's anything that they need, and just to have good touch bases with them. Things like that. We have a Pie Day event, which I know a lot of other realtors do as well, but we think it's important to connect with them around Thanksgiving time. And
how do you structure it? Because people do their pie days differently.
Yeah. What we've learned, during COVID, we pivoted a bit. Our RE/MAX office is not super large, and we have a large database of customers that come. So we've kind of kept this up where we set up a whole table outside. No matter how cold it is, we bundle up, and we've got coffee and hot cocoa and donuts. And some clients will choose to park, and they come and interact with us at the table, which is awesome. And some clients will pull up, but even when they pull up, they'll look for whichever one of us is their agent, and we come to the car and we get to connect. And sometimes, we'll walk around and give them a quick hug, but we're able to hand them their pie, thank them for, we have people who are coming who bought their home 30 years ago.
Wow.
It's incredible. So it's a neat tradition that they look forward to, and we look forward to quite a bit. We're talking about doing an event. We haven't done it yet, but we're planning one that's going to be focused, because we have so many clients who are dog lovers or pet lovers. So we're planning an event that's going to be focused around dogs. We're looking at maybe doing something cool at a dog park. But again, trying to be thoughtful about all of our clients. And
Yes, that's what I hear.
exactly. And so I'm just really proud of our team that we continue to evolve and plan. And even being here, last night talking with some of the other STAR members, like asking the questions, like, what kind of events are you doing? We love learning from other people too, and taking other, best practices and figuring out how to make it our own.
Well, just a couple of references. Star Heidi Joy.
Yes.
They do dogs in the park, and they do professional photos of people with their dogs.
So cute.
Yeah, people love that.
Yes.
And we have several agents who are doing Kim Cameron calls hers a yappy hour.
So cute.
They have breweries that also have outdoor spaces. And
So
here in Colorado, every place you go lets you have your dog outside. So
yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, we have to adjust a little bit because we're in Chicago weather, but we're working on
Maybe
some
not
options.
do that one in the winter.
No, that might need to be a beautiful July event. Yes. Yes. Oh, another fun one we're doing too is we're trying to do we'll do ice cream after the last day of school, which I know some other agents do too, but I think that's another fun way to.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, what about internally? What are you guys doing as a team to keep everybody's spirits up and to have team unity?
Great question. We really get together quite often and have, we have a lot of happy hours and dinners together because we are a social bunch and we like to get out of the office. So often that's how we'll do our team meetings is we'll get together in a happy hour setting. We'll eat, we'll drink, and we'll kind of go around and talk about different topics. We'll have an agenda, but, obviously, we've been talking a lot lately about, hey, now that we're truly putting into practice all of the, everything coming out of the NAR settlement, how is it going for everyone? What are we running into? And so I was recently sharing with my team, I've had a couple of instances happen where I had a choice to make, right? Where the seller said they were only paying X amount of commission. And, I've heard some agents say, okay, I'll just accept that. I'll just take that. And for me, that's just, I don't work for free. So I shared with my team, and they shared their experiences back with me, but about how I've gone back to my buyer and said, hey, they're willing to pay this percent. As we discussed, this is the percent that I work at. How would you like to proceed, right? Would you like to, pay the difference, and the difference is X, and if you want to finance it in your loan, I've already done the work with your lender, it's going to come out to this much a month, or we can obviously consider adjusting our offer based on this information. So, sharing as a team at these meetings of what's working, what's not, so that we can be inspired by each other and not be afraid to in a situation like this, ask for our value, and ask to be paid for our work. But we'll share things like that. We'll talk about, all kinds of topics, anything from how we're each kind of cultivating new leads, what's working, what's not working. But the whole point is to learn from each other.
Yes.
To also understand what's coming up, in terms of those client events, and what is our role in helping to support and make sure we generate a great turnout for those.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's look at Liz 3 to 5 years out from now. What does that look like in your mind?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, in my audacious, crazy goals, I'd like to be somewhere.
Count on that with you.
I'd like to be somewhere very far north of, of 100 million in sales easily every year. That would be important to me. I think it's really, that's a tough question because it really kind of depends on a few different factors. But I think the goal is to be really satisfied that I'm growing my business consistently and being in a place where our team is really as strong as it's ever been, continuing to uphold what's important to Leslie and in terms of making sure that all of our values are staying in place and we're delivering great service, but growing at the same time.
Yes.
In terms of the other businesses, right now they're serving as wonderful opportunities for me to source leads from. I really try to work the restaurant quite a bit when I'm there in getting real estate clients. So I think if that's still working well for me in that manner, I don't see a point of not continuing it. But I'm open-minded, and as real estate continues to grow for me, if it makes sense to shift or change with the restaurant or the charcuterie business, I'm open to it. as long as it makes sense for my family and I.
I love that you always go back to that core. You have to enjoy it. It has to benefit your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It really is. And it's, we work to make a living, of course. But I certainly want to enjoy the moments with my family and my growing family at this point. So,
well, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For the viewers, I don't know if I'm letting a cat out of the bag.
Oh, you're fine.
She's engaged.
I'm engaged to a wonderful gentleman, and he has 3 amazing sons. So when I say growing family, I mean, kids that are already here. So.
Double it. You are the Brady Bunch.
We're the Brady Bunch. So between us, we have 5 kids, 3 boys and 2 girls, and a dog and 2 cats. So it's a very busy, wonderful life.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Well, Liz, just let me thank you again for saying yes. You've brought so much to the table today. I know you guys have gotten a ton out of this, as have I. You've got me thinking about some things. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be part of Star Power and getting to come to the conference this year was absolutely mind-blowing in terms of everything I learned. So thank you for letting me be part of this.
Real quick at the end of this interview, you said something really interesting to me about your perspective on our conference. Just share a little bit of your experience.
I have to tell you, I think I said this to you last night. I am blown away that any brand across any industry, right? Because do I have this correct? You've started Star Power back up. It's been 2 years. Mm-hmm. And previous to that, it had kind of gone dormant. Would that be safe to say for 10 years?
For over a decade.
Over a decade. I don't know a brand out there that can go dormant for 10 years and then someone says, I'm going to bring it back, and it have such an amazing response and turnout as you've had. And it speaks volumes to the brand that was built previously, the fans, clients, customers, club members, whatever you want to call them, that believed in, bought into, embraced the brand previously, but also to your vision of being able to bring something back and do it in an authentic enough way that people are signing up and showing up. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing, especially being someone who's built brands my whole life. I can't believe that story and your story. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you should be so proud of that. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to come back again.
We're excited to have you. Welcome to the family. Officially.
Thank you.
And y'all can come to conference next year and meet up with Liz face to face and hear what big leap she's taken since we did the interview.
I would love that. I can't wait to meet absolutely everybody. Thank you so much, Amy.
Our pleasure. Please share with your colleagues all the great goodness you're getting out of these interviews and invite them to be a member of our club. Also, we'd love to see you at conference. On behalf of Liz, of our entire Star family and our Star Power extended family, thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next interview.